everybody, it's Stu, and this is going to be, obviously I'm starting with clearing my throat. I've had to do a lot of talking today, and I had a kind of stressful day. For some reason, I feel compelled to do this video, so I'm going to do it. This is a week in reading review and a TBR, and I'm not going to say much because I'm going to try to do a lot all in one video. And I feel like just kind of to get it done, I'm making videos now more out of habit than creative synergy. But the first book I'm going to talk about, I only read digitally, and goodness, it's The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. I got this. I checked this out because I heard a reviewer talk about it, and they quite liked it. It had kind of end of summer vibes, so I got to it. Tyree Jones also did the blurb. In this book, we're following 3 parts, and it's 3 different protagonists, a mother, a daughter, and a father. It's all told in the first person, and I honestly, I don't know if it's an issue, but I find that most authors don't do that well, that they don't actually change the voice of the different protagonists. I thought that Sarah Damoff did a decent job of that. And I thought that, kind of looking at intergenerational abuse trauma through multiple perspectives was indeed an interesting endeavor. I found the book, probably I won't remember it. Like if I look back next month and think about it, I will need like a little jogging of the memory, because there was nothing about it that incredibly stood out, but it was a decent read. That's what I have to say about that book. The next book, and then this is over the holiday season, so it was like kind of really weird, like reading times and reading energy. I listened to Caitlin Mullins' Please See Us. This is like my third, our monthly pick by Barnes & Noble that's really delivered for me. This is like true crime, thriller kind of situation. Well, based on a true crime. I thought it also has multiple perspectives. I thought it did. It didn't. A decent job moving through these perspectives, even in the first person. And I really liked how it handled the Jane Does. Yeah, there was, it was atmospheric. It was feminist, and it kept the tension building. Even though there was a certain degree, I mean, all books for me are a predictability. I don't think it was about plot twists, which also, I don't like it when books, this is just my own reading preference, try to throw in a plot twist, because it's really, I mean, I find it really hard for me to suspend disbelief and be surprised by any plot twist, as there's nothing new under the sun, and I'm an avid reader and or media consumer of, movies, etc. I thought this was I would really, in fact, I know, there's a volunteer at the Friend of the Library who likes mystery thriller, even of this vein, with like a feminist theme. Yeah, I'm going to ask her if she wants this, and if not, then I'll just donate to Friends of the Library. I then read Small Things Like These. I read it with a lot of football going on in the background, which I don't need to watch football for any reason or be part of games. I think though, just kind of the noise in the background was an interesting thing, especially because that's like really, really hectic and a lot is going on. And this book is called Small Things Like These by Claire Keegan, and it really is about the small things. I think the kind of concentration that's needed to really, really, really pick up on and appreciate the many small things, the choices on the time frame, the slice of the life, the slice of the town that Claire Keegan is telling in this story, and the subtleties right, I don't think I really nailed. I, like probably many readers, got to the last page and I was then doing it digitally. Um, and I got to this part where it was like a note about the text, and I thought, that's a weird thing to do, put a note about the text in the middle of the book. It was indeed the end. Claire Keegan does an excellent job of taking as small of pieces as possible to show you that the small things matter. She also does an excellent job showing that where you begin and end stories is really important to how the story lands. And ultimately, yes, sometimes when you do small things, it has big impacts, even for small moments. I then watched the Cillian Murphy adaptation. Well, he's an actor, that's not the producer. Adaptation of this with my friend, and we discussed it, and I was able to have captured enough of the book, and I had it there for reference to be like, oh, that was an interesting choice with the adaptation. I did like the adaptation. When reading this, I thought this is going to be challenging to adapt into screen. And oftentimes when I read books and they feel like they're going to make good film adaptation or series adaptations, I don't like them because they're not really using literature, in my opinion. Oftentimes they're not using literature for what literature can do. And this is just a different medium, right? It's, and so I thought those who endeavored, including the actor, right, who did a fantastic job, in my opinion, this adaptation, were brave and bold as this book was, and did an excellent job with the adaptation. I have a friend that wants this book, and because it's so small and because of all of the things that happened, I'm actually going to hold on to it and just read it again on a really calm day when I almost feel restless from the amount of calm that's around me, because reading it with all of the holiday energy and all of the football noise, I think impacted my reading of it. And because it's small and beautiful, like, it can be read again. So it'll be one of the few books that I actually keep for a reread. The next I read, and I read this also, well, a lot of football and other movement was going on. What the Fireflies Knew by Kay Harris. This is a sweet coming of age story about a girl who was born and grew up until age 10 in Detroit, and then has to move with her father dies, and she has to move with her granddad, who's estranged from her mother, who is a young mother. With her, she and her sister move to live with the granddad in Lansing, Michigan. It was like, there was enough of Michigan in the setting development for me to actually understand that it was Michigan and know that plot was a part of this story. And for that, I'm going to back up for a second too. This is Atlantic City, and I thought that Caitlin Mullen really used Atlantic City to build an effective setting, which deeply impacted the atmosphere and plot of this book. So I appreciated the setting. I thought this book was, you know, simple, commercially viable, and by that I mean open to a wide range of readers. And I would even suspect that, yeah, written for that reason, to really talk to a wide range of readers, so that a wide range of readers could contemplate, experience what it's like to come of age as a small Black girl, a little Black girl. And the author even says it in, you know, some of the reading notes, especially when she's doing the trauma warnings. She just really wants you to feel the sensation of being a girl, a little child again, coming of age, experiencing the world around you. And yeah, I think that's what I have to say. I mean, it had some crossover to The Bright Years because of the just sort of like impact of addiction, especially seen through the eyes of the children. Next, I listened to on my trip back home, and it was such a great listen because it was read by Oscar Hoquea, who's the author, The Calling for a Blanket Dance. I I see little spaces in this story where it's a debut novel and where this writer felt to me emergent. And what I can say about this story is it just absolutely felt and read like a story that needed to be told, that was telling itself. That's no disrespect to Oscar Hoquet's craft and development of his craft, but that the story needed to be told and it was telling itself. It was really brave to work through all of these sort of interrelated short stories of characters through ascending timeline. And if I don't remember incorrectly, this timeline, it does a family tree, which I didn't see and I didn't need while listening, but yes, the timeline goes like from 1976 to 2013, and we follow different characters. I also appreciated how the different characters are narrating their experiences with characters that you've already met. So you get less of the sort of inter workings and thoughts of the characters and more of how they see the other characters who you have met or will come to know again in their world with them. Certainly more people need to read authors Native American stories, and more authors, Native American authors, need to write and publish and edit, and like we all need more Native American stories. And this one absolutely scratched the itch of needing to learn. Like I learned so much about Oklahoma tribes, the Kiowa, the Cheyenne, the Cherokee. Yeah. Relationships with migrant workers or immigrants from Mexico. It really did. It exposed a lot of a slice of a place. So setting is incredibly important in this book of the United States. And yeah, this is a signed book. And you know, when you encounter such things, like, I will give this book up. I don't want to hold on to this book, even if I wanted to read it again, because I want other people to discover and read this book. And I hope they're extra excited about it being signed. Maybe not. I am doing a buddy read of Whereabouts by Jhumpa Lahiri. I'm doing immersive listening, reading actually this edition and reading. Nope, I haven't even touched the digital one, but I have it there in case I wanted to. This is, I'm not done. I'm just a few, 30 minutes or less to being done listening, and less than that if I read it with my eyeballs. What a fantastic way to write a book, which is to, speaking of setting, to really experience this author whose name we never know. There's no clear plot line. We're just experiencing her inner thoughts and her interactions with the people and places that she encounters. We know that she lives in some unnamed city in Italy. We know that she is unmarried and has no children. And we know that she's 46 actually. And those are all things to know, but there isn't a whole lot of other identity information sort of given. You've just come to know her with how she interacts and little brief dialogues, although there's not very much dialogue in this book either, in setting. And that's why it's literally Dove mi trovo, yeah, is what it is in Italian. It was written in Italian by Jhumpa Lahiri and translated by Jhumpa Lahiri. One day I will have the Italian version of this book, and I am estimating that I'm going to like it even more than the English version. This is an interesting buddy read choice, because it is not the kind of book that I actually care to talk about that much. I don't know, for me, if more will be revealed revealed, or different points of view will be revealed with this book. It feels really intimate, and my experience reading it also feels really intimate. And I think a lot of the choices that Jhumpa Lahiri does is so that I can really find myself also in this book, wandering around unnamed cities, experiencing things. And so I think the other reader of this book is not like me at all. So I could eat my words to see if that person has anything to say at all, compelling, interesting, boring, whatever. Or if we're just like, that was a really unique and substantive experience of which I don't really feel like I need to talk about too much. We shall see. Jhumpa Lahiri is actually the one author who I've decided, no, there are three. One of the three authors that I've decided not to unhaul, to hold on to her collection and read again. And this is definitely a book that I would want to read again. I know the reading of this, where I am in, like, literally, because this is about whereabouts, where you are, will absolutely impact how I read this book. Finally, I am not done with it, but very nearly. I'm in the third part, which is the smallest part of this book. And I was really sort of debating, should I read this or do I need to address some of the books that I have physical copies of? A question that shall never be answered. That's The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy. I recently somewhat read The Turner House and I really liked it. I might say that I like The Wilderness even better. I appreciate the friendship. This is probably my favorite novel that's exploring friendships across multiple decades. There's also a sisterhood in here that makes for an interesting texture, and I appreciate that too. We also go sort of in and out of timelines, and so I think that yes, the first chapter is 2008, and then let me make sure, because we have a couple different timeliney books that I'm reading that I'm not mistaking. I think we go in and out of points of view, but I think we also, yeah, and then it's like 2018, and then it goes backwards again to 2012. Yeah, okay. So we are going through different characters, seeing all of the same characters are interacting, but we get different points of view with the friends and the two sisters, and it's going not in a linear timeline. And I have to say, I can understand how that doesn't work for people, but it totally works for me because I don't experience my own life and memory in a linear timeline. And whenever I say that, I feel like people don't really, the people who do experience like memory in linear timelines, like, don't believe me. They like just can't even empathize at all. But stories that don't come in linear timelines totally make sense for me. I don't have to know the chronology of things to feel really comfortable about knowing the context of what's happening. Now, rapid fire TBR. Hold. Whereabouts. I got at the Friends of the Library this edition so that I could give the hardback that I got at St. Vincent de Paul for 50 cents to my buddy reader. Calling for a Blanket Dance, I got at Friends of the Library. What the Fireflies Knew was a local neighborhood Friends of the Library book sale. I got this book for like 50 cents or $1. Please See Us, I got at Portland's St. Vincent de Paul. I probably paid $2 or $3 for this book. And small things like these, I got at the Friends of the Library. So none of those were little free library hauls. The Satanic Verses is my last Booker selection and one of my 10 until the end. It is dense, it is small printed, it is long for the density that it is. It is my first Salman Rushdie novel, and it is my last of the Booker selection because this is the novel I believe he won the Booker for, but he got nominated multiple times. And as I said in a recent haul video, I now have 4 other Salman Rushdies to consider. I was going to do Harona Never Stories, a small short story collection, and I decided to bump it for this, and I'm almost regretting the decision as I'm holding this book, but I was hoping that December would come. I knew this wouldn't happen until December, and here we are in December, and that I would have more reading time, but actually I feel almost suffocated by the amount of books that I plan to read this month. Such a Quiet Place. I was moving from spooky season to sort of more mystery kind of vibe. And I'm trying to sort of move books off my mystery thriller shelf. So that was kind of in my December pile of possibilities to read. Off that shelf. This has been on there for long enough. It has been on for a while. This is a Little Free Library book, so yay. And I've had it for much longer than I should be having a Little Free Library book. If it doesn't vibe at all, this is one of the ones that I absolutely will just DNF. Another Little Free Library book, which is the last sort of Native American Heritage Month selection, although it is not by a Native author, Charles DeLint. He is using, there are Native American characters to the best of my knowledge, and there's some Native American folklore. Is it appropriation? Is it not? I don't know what the criticism is because I don't read it. I am conscious about that being an issue as I even pick up books. But as this is a fantasy, I think, and an older book, it's published in the 90s, so even that might make it really not land. And a Little Free Library book. Again, I feel the same way. I have these kind of bigger, denser books for this week because if this doesn't land, I am fully committed to not even give it a chance. Like those, Such a Quiet Place and Someplace to Be Flying, I'm not its target audience anyway. It's not necessarily the genre I feel with, and I'm not read outside of my comfort zone right now. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it goes back into the Little Free Libraries. Circe, however, I have high anticipation for, so I hope it delivers. I did pass up Son of Achilles because in a Little Free Library because I hadn't read this yet, and I just somehow felt like I should. This is on one of my 10 until the end, and it'll be the third to last one, and it is December, so I gotta get on them. And this also, I believe, might be a women's prize for fiction. I know Son of Achilles won, but I don't know if this one was on. I'll have to check my information, but I think that I'm going to read this. I think that I'm going to read this before those other ones. That's what I think. Yeah. I think I might even be telling you almost in reverse order what I'm going to read, but I don't know because because I'm stacked up here. Jar City by Anlador Indresen, translated, I believe. Let me see. Yes, by Bernard Shutter. This will be my second book by this author, so it would have fit in. I mean, if I had, I remember when I did the whole bookshelf tour, and I was like, I'm going to read second books by authors that I've read the first book in the last year. No, it's not going to happen. My TBR is ridiculously stacked from things that I actually don't know what happened to it. This is definitely, it's got a winter vibe. It's on the mystery thriller shelf, and it kind of falls under that second book by an author. So yeah, this was also hauled from a Little Free Library. So basically, most of the books in my up and coming reading week are Little Free Library reads. I anticipate liking that book because I liked the other book that I read by him. That being said, if I don't, I have the same feeling towards it as I had the other. Currently, on my commute this morning and back this afternoon from work, I started listening to the true story of Raja the Gullible and his mother, and I absolutely, You know, sometimes you think maybe I'm just in a bit of a reading slump. I'm having a hard time getting into this book. This book is okay. And maybe I'm just being moody. And all of those things can be true. But when you find a book that just really, really, really works for you, and I think that I'm just really getting into my listening groove as well, man, I have just been absolutely gobsmacked. Like somebody will talk to me or something, like my alarm, something will happen on my phone that I need to pay attention to during commute, and I'm just like, can't pull me away from this book, this audiobook experience. And that's how I am feeling. That is really how I am feeling about this book. It's by Rabih Al-Madin. Rabih Al-Madin. And as probably anyone who's listening to this knows, he won the National Book Award. I said, okay, whatever wins, I'm going to put on my holds shelf. And I did. And then my library just hurried up and got a whole bunch more copies. So it got bumped out of what I thought was going to be like a several month wait. And I'm glad I didn't wait. I'm glad I didn't say, oh, but I have all of these other plans, because I am having a great time with that book. So there it is, 25-minute video. I have to finish The Wilderness and Whereabouts. That'll be done today, and then I'll start in that pile. And I don't know, maybe a week, maybe less, maybe more. Once the December holiday season sort of ramps up, I'm going to have visitors. I'm going to have a lot of people around. I'm also going to travel at the end of the year. So I won't probably be making videos, and maybe I'll just read things and not make videos, go figure, or we'll see how that looks. The last thing I'll say is that, man, have I said it enough? My TBR feels out of control. It's so stacked. But reading is for fun. Reading is for whatever you get to. So if I find that before I start getting company, I have hours in the day because it's wintry and sitting, in a cozy place and reading is what I want to do, then I have certainly enough plans to satiate that. If I DNF, then I'm fine with that too. Or if I blow up my TBR and I don't even get through my 10 till the end, to be honest, those are just fun things to do. I don't feel any kind of way about that. So we'll see if I hit the 10 till the end, if I read these books. Been pretty consistent this year so far. And if I make another video in a week.